Welcome to the regular meeting of the South Haven City Council. Today is Monday, October 7th. This meeting is called to order. Tonight's invocation is by Pastor Antoinette Cox of Body of Christ Church.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you. Good to be here with you tonight. What an honor it is. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this another opportunity that we could gather together and give you thanks and praise and honor and glory that belongs to you for our health, for our strength, oh God, and for the wisdom. We do ask tonight, oh God, that you would fill this room and each of our council members as well as our community with the wisdom, oh God, that we need to make the decisions, oh God, for all that are involved in order to keep and make our city great. And Lord, we give you once again the glory and the honor now and always in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Megan, could we have a roll call, please?
Of course. Jeff Arnold.
Here.
Mary Hosley.
Here.
Wendy Onuki. Joe Reeser.
Here.
George Sleeper.
Here.
Letitia Wilkins.
Here.
Annie Brown.
Could we have a motion to excuse Wendy Onuki?
I move to excuse Councilwoman Onuki.
Second?
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Wendy Onuki is excused for personal reasons. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. It's time for community update. Kate.
Thank you, Mayor. I was notified earlier today that Jennifer Otto is not feeling well, and so she will not be here tonight to give her peer-to-peer program update from the South Haven Public Schools. So I think we can progress to the update from Executive Director Brandon Hins from South Haven Area Emergency Services.
So I've got a little bit extra time.
That's right.
Good evening, Mrs. Mayor, City Council members. Thank you for letting me swing by and take a few minutes to give an update of what we've been up to at Shays. To date, we've responded to 2,080 incidents in our entire coverage area, 97 square miles, 928 of those incidents occurring in South Haven City. Approximately 70% of those incidents are EMS, about 30% fire. With our gradually increasing call volume and increased transports out of town to larger regional hospitals, resulting in longer out-of-service times, beginning in January, we started staffing at a 4-person minimum. We were at a 2-person minimum before. We currently are at a mandatory 2-person minimum, but we've been filling the extra positions with overtime. This has smashed our overtime budget for the year, but it has accomplished the following. Less burnout for our career members. Being able to schedule a shift fill ahead of time allows our members to actually enjoy a day off. In the past, members would monitor radio traffic, they still do, anticipating response back to the station in case we went on a call and they needed to come into cover. Off-duty members are often called in for coverage, still as we have high incidents of what we refer to as double taps, or an incident that occurs within 50 minutes, or an incident that is dispatched while the initial crew is still out of service, which I'll cover in my next bullet point. It assures better coverage for our area, with an average of 7 to 8 incidents per day, averaging about 50 minutes per incident. In out-of-town EMS transport takes a unit out of service for 3 to 4 hours. So there's a high likelihood of another call being dispatched during that time, not only EMS, but fire response as well. With doing this and doing our increased shift fill, we've reduced our response time across the board. With increased staffing on station and reduced time for our off-duty members to respond to the station, oftentimes it always seems like that's when another call would happen. We've been able to reduce them pretty dramatically. Our 2023 response time overall was 5 minutes, 20 seconds overall, our entire coverage area, which is extremely respectable. Our response time for South Haven City, 3 minutes and 55 seconds. 2024 response times have reduced 2% to 5 minutes and 11 seconds overall, and 3 minutes 44 seconds for South Haven City. We've reduced our reliance upon mutual aid. Shays has an excellent working relationship with Covert Township Fire and EMS. Covert's a fire-based ALS transport, just as we are. And if we need them, we call. If they need us, we call. And it's just been such a good, it's almost mutual. If we need them 2 times in a month, they need us 2 times in a month. So our reliance upon Covert has dropped tremendously compared to 2023, a 69% decrease in standby coverage and a 22% decrease in response to our area. And we began the process of filling or adding 2 additional career members earlier this year, and we anticipate the second position, additional position filled by late October. I'm a numbers geek, especially when it comes to metrics like this that we can measure, we can improve on, track, and make adjustments. So I wanted to share all those with you. On to some funner stuff. Our year's winding down, but we still have a lot planned. October is Fire Prevention Month, as you all know. We began school visits last week, and we will continue throughout the month. Our annual fun fair is this Thursday at the fire station on Blue Star from 5 to 7, and that's always a great time, and free hot dogs. Fire Prevention Month's theme this year is Smoke Alarms Make Them Work for You. I wanted to mention this as Shays offers free smoke alarm installation to all of our taxpayers, all of our residents in our coverage area. These alarms are offered by the American Red Cross and Michigan's own MI Prevention. In 2024 to date, Shays has installed 300 smoke detectors in our coverage area, which is huge. Not only does that serve its purpose, alarming residents so they know to leave the home in the event of a fire. Not so fun fact, out of the 71 persons killed this year in Michigan to date in house fires, only 20% of them had only 20% of those incidents were reported as having worked with smoking detectors in the home. So it's been a big push from the state, and they've given us these smoke detectors to install, so we want to get them out. And it also gets us out interacting with our residents on good days that they don't necessarily need us there for an emergency response, and that's nice. These free alarms are offered to all residents of our coverage area, low income, medium income, high income, it doesn't matter. Visit our website, shays.org, for contact information, or reach out to me directly at my email, bhens@shays.org. And Red Cross will be partnering up a little bit harder this next year. They'll be attending our pancake breakfasts, offering smoke alarms and sign-ups. We posted at Senior Services. We've had great success there, and we've also posted sign-ups at the schools. So we will be taking delivery of a new pumper tanker pretty soon. It's manufactured here at Spencer's in town, and that will replace a 26-year-old apparatus that we currently have on our fleet. I don't want to take up too much time this evening. I want to thank you all for your time. I look forward to wrapping up the end of another busy year with our new interim police chief, Patrick Carlotto. We share the same building, as you all know, and we have a great relationship with South Haven PD. And he's doing a great job. He shared some of his plans, some which involve furthering this relationship and building it. So I'm excited. So, thank you all. Can I answer any questions?
Mary?
Not a question, but a couple of compliments. So I was talking with someone who lives behind the home on North Shore Drive that went up in flames earlier this year, and they just couldn't speak high enough of Shays. They were so impressed with the response time, and once the fire was under control, making sure things that appeared antique-ish were removed from the structure for protecting the personal property. They just thought it was very personal and very dedicated, and we're very pleased to have you as part of our community.
Thank you. That's always nice to hear. We put a pretty big emphasis on and that was a perfect example, that fire where we had crews go in to mitigate the issue, but as soon as they went in, we had folks that were there pulling stuff out. We'll get the secondary crews. We always have a backup crew to go in, but then we'll have a third crew that puts their air packs on, and let's start getting some of the stuff out that we can save and salvage. And that's been a pretty big part of this organization for as long as I can remember. And we still keep, because those are the things that matter, you know. Of course, your house matters, but all those little things, and they had a lot. They had a lot of
Yes.
pretty antique type stuff in there, and a lot of family memorabilia that they were able to get out. So thank you. It's nice to hear that.
Thanks for everything you do.
Thank you.
It's now time for public comment for items on the agenda, excluding items scheduled for a public hearing, and you have up to 5 minutes. Come on.
My name is Bill Provenzano from 83 Esplanade. I sent a letter to council members, but I can read it in the record, if that's okay.
Sure.
Dear Mayor Brown and council members, upon reviewing your published report on the spreadsheet contained in the packet for the meeting, for tonight's meeting regarding the short-term rentals, I extrapolated the information, did the best I could to distill it. I concluded there's roughly 1,000 registered short-term rental properties in South Haven. I looked at the maximum capacity of each one, used a 70 or 65% extrapolation out of that, times, I think, 6 weeks, and I came up with an approximate 56,000 guests that stay annually in short-term rental properties. I'm confident that's a conservative number. I'm confident it's much more than that, but just for the sake of this conversation. From your paperwork submitted for this evening's agenda, or this evening's meeting, there were 67 registered complaints identified on the spreadsheet provided within the packet. That equates to a 0.1% ratio of complaints to guests that flow through short-term rental properties. 0.1%. I recognize there are real people behind those 67 complaints. And I'm also aware of the City Council's desire to, quote, strike an appropriate balance between the interests of community residents, community business owners, visitors community, and real property owners. So let's just take a moment to examine what's on each side of that ledger. On the one side, we have three things on the one side of the ledger. Short-term owner-operators like myself collectively spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars each year, to local contractors, tradesmen, repairmen, electricians, et cetera, et cetera. We budget $2,500 a year for repairs and stuff like that. That's just one home out of a house. And we spend it all on local contractors and at local supply houses. Short-term owner-operators pay $700 fee each year to the City of South Haven. I think it's money well spent to make sure that our properties are up to par. I think it's the best money we spend because at least we know that our property meets your standards, and the properties that don't, get them off the books. Don't let them rent. Third thing on one side of the ledger, the guests that annually flow through the properties owned and operated by short-term rental owner-operators collectively spend literally millions of dollars, not figuratively, literally millions of dollars. And where does that money go? To local businesses, local coffee shops, local grocery stores, bars, boutiques, you name it. Our guests gladly spend their vacation dollars here. On the other side of the ledger, we have less than we have 0.1% of guests that stay in short-term rental properties generating registered complaints. 69 registered complaints generated from at least a minimum of 56,000 guests, probably more. If the City Council's true desire is to strike an appropriate balance between the interests of community residents and property owners, mission accomplished. We're there. That we're still having this conversation year after year, I can't even wrap my head around it. I submit the City Council is pushing on the wrong lever to achieve their desire, and I'm not even sure the desire is anymore. The numbers are there before you. Extrapolate them. Take them to an actuary. They're there. It is virtually statistically impossible to reduce the complaint per guest ratio.
You have 1 minute.
Okay. So I just want to say, the City Council's contemplation placing a hard cap, It may have a noble intention, but is in fact it's misguided effort that will undoubtedly have immediate, predictable consequences of lost revenue for both the city's residents, and property owners, as well as future unintended consequences of reduced property values for all City of South Haven homeowners. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Lois Hedman, 89 Superior. I have a couple of very specific pieces of feedback for the new language or the edited language for the short-term rental proposal. And one has to do, I think it's on page 9, about the city license or whatever, notice has to be posted at all times. Is that 365 days a year? I don't understand the rationale for that, but if it is, then state that. Kind of on the opposite side of things, I think it's on page 11, there's a couple of sections about indoor occupancy only, and then also the outside events. And in those, it's not specified that, that this is for people who are, for rental behavior, or people who are renting. It's written like it's all the time for owners, and renters. And I'm assuming that's not the intent, right? That it's just for the people that are renting. For example, I think on the previous page, it's very specific that as an owner of a short-term rental, I can set off fireworks in my yard, but people who rent from me cannot. So if I think the specificity needs to be there in those other two sections, that it is for the people who are renting and not for people who are owners. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan Agnello, 964 Everett Parkway. I appreciate the gentleman's comments previously, but complaints is just one item of STR problems. And, parking, the neighborhoods, ratios, routing the neighborhoods. It looks today like the city added the STR information to the packet. And according to the STR hotline log, I guess it's okay, but I think publishing people's names and addresses was not required. I think that should have been redacted and kept each case on there and what the problem was and what the resolution is. I personally don't think that was really necessary. Residents, we approve the purpose and the intent of the changes to the new code for an increase in power, but it increases power for zoning, for completely waiving parking. The most common resident complaint is parking, and the worst, neighborhood nuisance. Next came noise, and then next came general complaints. I'm going to go by section. Section 10-244-6. In the ordinance, I'll comment again that impossibility parking is still included. If there's no parking, then they should not be provided or allowed to get registration, period. The ordinance says you need parking. We don't need any exemptions for the impossibility. The impossibility is you don't get a registration. Like you indicated, there were 69 complaints, and there's probably at least twice as many that weren't recorded. I indicated in my email, my neighbors told me to call them first, and I've done that 4, 5, 6 times. I know some other people have done that, but I think from now on, I might do that and also call the hotline so it gets registered in the complaint log. 10-241. Yes, the STRs are a commercial use, and again, land use is not implied, nor is it guaranteed, per the end of the Code of Ordinance in Article 27 that we talked about earlier, other meetings here and in Planning Commission. Parking is not fully enforced, and we know that, especially where Joe lives south of town, that whole area that's full of SCRs, it's 1-to-2 ratio up North Shore Drive, the first 7 or 8 blocks on North Shore Drive. It's just not enforced. And one of the biggest problems is, okay, I've got 4 parking spots, but oh, wait a minute, I got garbage cans in one area, My garage is full of my golf cart and beach toys, so there's one parking spot instead of the 4 that I'm supposed to have. So they have to make sure that these spaces are actually usable, okay? Number 4, Section 10-243. Change of ownership allows you to reapply, the new owner to reapply for the STR within 90 days. Again, this should not be allowed. The use should not go with the STR, and it should be gone once the property is sold. And on Section 10-244, off-site parking should not be allowed in order for you to get a registration. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Hello again.
Hello.
I'm Susan Peterson. I'm 270 Park Avenue on the north side. The country I hear with all our deer. I've got a couple concerns. On the registration form, I do think it should state that you are a homesteaded property, or you are a second home property, one of 2 homes owned by the owner, or you are a business rental property and people don't live there. Maybe the owner comes for a visit, but that's not living in the home. The trends are different on Airbnb and VRBO because a lot of communities, not just ours, are having kickbacks, and people want to support local communities. I've had 3 inquiries just this past year. Do you or does somebody actually live in this home? Because we don't want to rent if that's not the case. So people are taking it upon themselves to support local people doing their own. So they want to distinguish that. Other communities have distinguished that and display that so that people know that they are doing the right thing by supporting what they want to support. Now, in Section 10-244, I think it should clearly state, it said a local agent is required, and maybe that should be clarified because I am an owner and I do my own. So certainly I can advocate for my own property and act as a local agent and contact person and be available as required by the ordinance. I do have a dispute with B, the contact information posted in a prominent first floor window at all times. Again, I'm a woman who lives by herself, and I think that this affects my personal safety. It makes me more vulnerable, less safe, and possibly a target for people who are angry about short-term rentals on a smaller scale or an intruder on a larger scale. And we have discussed that before. It's online. I agree with posting it when the home is being rented because obviously people renting it want to see that. And then we should have our address and like emergency numbers inside as well. Should be clear where like if you have a fire blanket and your first aid kit, that needs to be addressed too on inspection or in the rules. And lastly, the parking, that is people's primary complaint. When I check with my neighbors, I provide my garage and a garage door opener, and they're like, this is great. They push the garage door opener and pull on in, and there might be one other car in the driveway. Currently, it's stating that 1 space is for 6 people. That's way out there. 2 spaces for 8 people, 3 spaces for 10 people. 1 space should be for like 4 people, 2 spaces for 5 to 7, and 3 spaces for 8 to 10. Because who puts 6 people in a car? Like nobody. So if we handle some of the primary concerns of people, I think we'll be way better off. And just out of curiosity, when I go and stay places, I was up north in September, and I stayed at a place around Traverse City and between two horse eventing areas, went to the Flint Horse Park. And I asked them, what are your rules for renting? And they had one. You either had to be homesteaded or a second home. That was their only rule. Something to think about.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Shepard, and I'm the owner and full-time resident of 214 Superior Street. Most of you have seen, I hope, the Host Compliance SDR Hotline Complaint Report. Thank you for setting up the complaint hotline for SDRs. I hope you're grateful to residents for helping to make South Haven a better city for residents and visitors. From this report, parking had the most complaints. You may have seen that I filed complaints for parking violations. Most of the complaints were for the 7 short-term rentals on my block of Superior. Most of the complaints were due to cars parked on sidewalks. If a car is preventing pedestrians from walking on our sidewalks, the pedestrians, the families, are forced to walk on the street, compromising their safety. We are a unique, walkable tourist town. Visitors come to South Haven to walk to the beaches, to downtown, to the river, and to the parks. If cars are blocking the sidewalks, tourists, families can no longer walk safely to experience our beautiful town. A tourist destination that isn't safe for tourists, for families, for children. I hope we're not. I like to walk my dog to enjoy the lake and the sunsets, as do many residents. Shouldn't residents too be able to walk freely on our sidewalks? If cars are blocking the sidewalks, the safety of residents is compromised. Did you know that in Michigan it is illegal for a parked car to block the sidewalk? It's Michigan law. Vehicle Code 257.674. No one is above the law, not even short-term renters. In response to my complaints, you may hear stories to discredit me, that I went across the road to 215 Superior and STR one night in the off-season. I did. There are 2 sides to every story. The house was lit up inside. There were no cars in the driveway. It looked suspicious. As a neighbor, I was concerned that people had broken into the house. The owner called the police. I regret that instead of taking preemptive action to check suspicious activity, I'm the one that should have called the police. Next time, I will call the police. I've learned my lesson. Concerned for my husband's and my safety because someone did try and break into our home and failed, and because of the number of empty short-term rentals in the off-season, we have been forced to install a security system. Studies have shown that a proliferation of STRs in a neighborhood contributes to higher rate of crime in the area. Now, let's get back to cars blocking our sidewalks. The South Haven Visitors Bureau refers to our city as having wonderfully, and this is a quote, wonderfully walkable neighborhoods. Wonderfully walkable neighborhoods. It's true. If visitors are forced to walk on the streets because the sidewalks are blocked with cars, South Haven is not wonderfully walkable neighborhoods. As long as cars are parked on the sidewalks, South Haven is unsafe for walking. In conclusion, I plan to continue to help make South Haven safer.
You have 1 minute.
So that we have wonderfully walkable neighborhoods. Let's all continue to work together to make South Haven safer for residents and visitors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pat Gaston, 97 Superior Street. Well, actually, I kind of go along with all the changes that you have here. I mean, the only one I don't go along with is that like one car for 6 people or something. That kind of makes no sense. So I don't remember what the chart was. It was one car for this, and as she brought up, it was the cars, and it just makes that you don't have 6 people to a car. It's what I usually see is 2 people to a car, maybe 4. So yeah, I'm here to say I really like these changes, and I would agree with Susan Peterson that that it's nice to have people that actually I understand that you live here and you maybe need that income for a few months. I get that. I guess the $600 million or whatever, $600,000 million that are spent, I guess the stores are benefiting from that. I certainly am not benefiting that. The streets, they're not paying for my streets, they're not paying for anything like that. So anyway, I'm here to say, I like this. I think this is great. Except the parking, it makes no sense.
Thank you, Pat.
Rich Green, 408 Eagle Street in Shores Rental Vacations, or Shores Vacation Rentals. So, I've been coming into a couple of these meetings and we've been watching all this play out. But here again, we're talking about parking tonight. And parking always seems to be the biggest complaint. We keep acting like if short-term rentals weren't the problem, there'd be tons of parking. You have 100,000 people coming up from Kalamazoo in the summertime weekly. That's 100,000 people that are coming and flooding these streets and parking on the streets. Do short-term rentals kind of screw up, and do they park over the sidewalk sometimes? Yeah. But it's because they can't find parking. So when we talk about parking, why do we keep leaving out the daily tourists out of this equation? That's a lot of people that are coming up here. In fact, actually, I think the numbers are higher. When we talk about enforcement, I agree with everybody on this enforcement issue. Instead of keep making new zoning restrictions and zoning restrictions and zoning restrictions, where's the enforcement? When are you guys going to kind of push that up a little bit? Now, one of the stories I tell over and over that I absolutely agree with neighborhoods need neighbors is this idea about when you guys approve a house and you say this house is so big it has to have 3-car garage to make sure those people are off the streets. All right, so you approve that. But then that developer instead works with the owner and turns those 3-car garages into, I don't know, a man's cave, play toy cave. So, well, there you go, 3 cars back on the street. Where's the enforcement here? Where's the enforcement to go back to those homes that you improved to make sure that those garages are empty and allow for the short-term rentals to get off your streets? If you're not enforcing that, why do you continue just to make more stuff? We have a political party here in America that keeps talking about big government, big government. Well, this is big government at its finest right here in small town. Because you're not enforcing stuff that's already on the books. There's a lot of stuff that I think if you enforced might take away a lot of these complaints. But, as the gentleman said, there was 1%. 1%, let me go back and try to quote you on this one. 1/10 of 1%. Thank you very much. That's a really low number for everybody to be screaming that short-term rentals are the problem here in this city. And I think that is something we kind of should remember. But enforcement, enforce what you have. You bought these really expensive little parking cars to go around, and man, if they're there too long, ticket you. Maybe we need to continue that. But again, I say instead of keep adding stuff, or like I saw the occupancy levels from 12 to 10, some of these places it doesn't make sense. Now I want to get to the occupancy real quick. I used to be a special ed teacher in Chicago. And I would have parents who are struggling financially be able to afford a one-bedroom apartment in Chicago with 3 kids. And Child Protective Services were on them all the time. We're going to take your kids away unless they each have a bedroom, blah, 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 blah. But I've seen this city here approve some of these short-term rentals that have packed in a closet 3 bunk beds on one side and 3 on the other. Now, that wouldn't be allowed for a struggling mother. It shouldn't be allowed here either.
You have 1 minute.
Thank you. But that goes back to enforcement. Enforce what you have. Don't keep adding and thinking that's going to solve the problem.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Lisa Croupiers, 561 Indiana. The 2018 Code Section 10 for STRs, revised from the 2016 version, is better and more effective than what we have before us. There's been 8 years of complaints on STRs from residents. Where is that in the agenda packet? Where is the Neighborhoods Need Neighbors survey and results? Residents remain firm. All STRs established after January 1st of 2018 were required to come into zoning compliance then and must be required now. No grandfathering of STR dwelling units established after 1/1/2018. Who is going to enforce? Very little will change with the STR craziness until effective enforcement can be implemented. Any changes look great on paper and in theory, but if it can't be enforced, it's useless. I'm going to go through the STR items that I want to talk about. On page 8 of the STR code, page 47 of 136 of the agenda packet, H, the change of ownership. This proposal is unacceptable. Residents have asked for a reduction in the total number of STRs. How will that happen if this is implemented? If property is sold or there's a title change, the STR certificate is canceled or should be canceled. Section 10-244, STR regulations. A, local contact person must be available 24/7 within, and as it's written, it says 45/30 miles of STR dwelling. I believe one of these is supposed to be minutes, not miles. D, maximum occupancy. Yes on 10. This is the International Fire Code, so the city would have this to support them. Again, enforcement is an issue. Residents have been asking for this since the first STR code was created. Compliance with Michigan Construction Code. Just a moment. Michigan's Construction Code is, as noted, is on page 10 of the code and page 49 of 136 of the packet under D. Does anyone on City Council understand this? Do STR owners know what is involved to comply with the Michigan Construction Code? M, thank you on the $1 million liability insurance. This protects the city from liability and lawsuits, I believe. N, parking. Why should there be parking requirements when ZA, zoning administrator approved off-site parking, can be approved and obtained? Have you thought this through? The zoning administrator is going to become a parking approval department. There should be no exceptions and no changes to the current STR parking requirements. If you don't have adequate on-site parking, no STR certificate should be issued, plain and simple. STR requirements for parking should be the same as residential requirements. 6, the impossibility aspect. Are we seeing how much space and effort has been dedicated to exceptions? Giving away our neighborhoods and city to STRs and tourism, typically owned by out-of-state people and non-residents of South Haven. Prohibitions. This is P. 6.
You have 1 minute.
It states any lot or parcel with 2 or more dwellings thereon except for blank. We all know there's lots of blank spaces to put in there. It sounds like a Taylor Swift song. Kelly Getman Dissett is going to be having to become, I've got a blank space, baby, and I'll write your name. Overall, my gosh, the zoning administrator title is seen throughout this ordinance many, many times. Good luck taking all this on with all her other responsibilities. STR hotline, thank you for implementing this. I think there's still many, many people that do not even know this exists or how to access it. It would have been more appropriate to redact the names of the complainants. The addresses are the offending addresses, so I think that is appropriate. Even the city manager's name is on this, so I think we're in good shape. This is a very effective tool. Please
Your
continue
time is
it.
up. Thank you.
Publicize it so everyone is
time
well
is up.
aware of its existence. Thank you.
Joe Wilkins, 811 Indiana Street. Just quickly, I want to ditto and echo the words of, I think it was Pat Gaskin. I totally agree with what's been presented, proposed. It's been a long time coming. I want to commend the council, the work of the staff, and trying to put together something that will strike a balance. And unfortunately, in 2016, we didn't have a crystal ball at the time to really see what impact STRs would have by allowing, on this city, by allowing commercial, in my opinion, commercial businesses to be in residential areas. I'm not against STRs, totally. I've always said that. I always said in the beginning I thought we should have had some type of a balance. And hindsight, now we're 4 or 5 years out. We're just trying to strike a balance. So kudos to you all, the staff, for staying diligent and trying to at least try to get our arms around this growing problem that we've been facing in South Haven for years. And so I know everybody won't be happy. I've seen a lot of gentrification going on in my neighborhood with these mammoth houses going up for STRs. And so I've felt it in a different way. But I do think it's important to recognize the effort and that it took to try to get us to this point. And so I want to commend the council and the staff, because the fact of the matter is we're here, we're at this point, we have to do something. South Haven is a gross outlier compared to other municipalities, shoreline municipality cities. We have way more than all the other municipality cities put together. We have way more STRs. And so I think it's important that we start somewhere. And it might be a challenge with enforcing some of this stuff, but we have to get something put on paper to head in the right direction. So kudos to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Dan Lear, 50 Lakeshore Drive. We're full-time residents, have been for years. We do rent in the summer. My wife and I's primary income is Social Security. Her Social Security doesn't cover half of our real estate taxes. We don't have a choice. If you take it down to 10, we have beds for 20. 16 is fine. You take it down to 10, we have two choices. One is rent for the whole summer, so we miss why we're here, or move and leave. And I've said a thing to the council saying, this is what happens. You know, my wife's on the Alvan Humane Society board. I'm on the, I'm on the board with her, the Community Foundation board. He mentioned Red Cross. I'm on the Red Cross of Southwest Michigan board. I'm on Centrica board, which is the largest hospice in Michigan. On the Girl Scout board and put money in for local girls into the endowment at the Community Foundation. There isn't a brick in town or a splash pad or a lighthouse or a light down on North Beach that doesn't have our name on it. We're big supporters of the community, and this is like, let's drive the people out of town because they can't afford to live here anymore. You have to do something to be able to pay the crazy taxes. And reducing it to 10 will drive down values of our houses. Monroe Park, where we live, probably 90% rentals. I'll say this to his face, because I have before, the renters are not the noisy ones, it's our neighbors. Much more noisy than any renters ever are. So just keep in mind, sounds like there's areas of town that need help, but Monroe Park, I mean, we're the tourist attraction. And I'll add one other thing, raise the parking fees. You know, we get so many thank yous. We rent out some of our parking when we're home. And the people from Chicago, you know, we charge $20. They say, is that $20 an hour? You know, no, it's for the day. You could raise it to 20 and you'll fill every one of those spaces on the beach. That's not the issue. Use that money for your lifeguards or whatever you decide. But there are ways to handle that. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan, for everything you do for South Haven. Any other comments? If not, we're moving on. You get one chance. Okay, we're moving on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve items A through D?
I move to approve consent agenda items A through D.
Support.
Any discussion? Could we have a roll call, please?
Of course. Arnold?
Yes.
Hasley?
Yes.
Reeser?
Yes.
Sleeper?
Yes.
Wilkins?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes. The consent agenda is approved. Moving on to old business. The city council will be asked to review proposed language amending sections of the Code of Ordinances regulating short-term rentals and provide feedback to staff. Kate.
Thank you, Mayor. So we have in your packet a draft language as well as a red line copy kind of showing those changes. This tended to kind of incorporate some of the comments that we heard at our last meeting. Hopefully we got the mark, but we may not have. I've heard some concerns from the occupancy portion on that, so I guess I'm just looking for some guidance on City Council, from City Council. I don't know if you want me to go through the individual changes or if there's any kind of remarks to start off with. What would you like, Mayor?
Why don't you start?
Okay. I'm going to just review from the red line copy. It's easier to see what has kind of changed a little bit. We did get some feedback from the last meeting about the kind of inconsistent application of terms STR property and dwelling unit. So this attempted to clarify those kind of areas where it wasn't clear if it was a dwelling unit. We also did strike out some concerns from the registration packet when it comes to the parking spaces, because that has already been kind of dealt with in another section. So that's why that was struck out. And I'm talking about, this would be page 66 of 136. also tried to be very consistent with the terms that were applied, such as occupant, which has been defined in the definition section, so we tried to clarify that. Moving on to...
Could you just keep saying what page and
Sure,
section
sure,
you're
sure.
on?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm now jumping down to page 71 of 136, and this goes to the occupancy. I know we had conversations about 10 or 12, and I'll be honest with you, I'm working off my notes, and I had 10 kind of on there, but I wasn't sure if that's where council ended up wanting to be, is on 10 or 12 occupancy, so it's in 10 in here, but it also does strike out the +2 additional occupants per finished story. That was something I did have very well marked, is that the council did seem to want to take that out. So that's why that has been struck.
I just have a question there.
Yes.
George, you had talked about, I think you mentioned keeping it at 12 for flexibility. Would you like to talk about that?
No, I just think 10 is not enough, especially when I look at the table, and thank you for providing that table. It kind of paints a clearer picture of just how many guests will be reduced by reducing the occupancy from down to 10. So I would advocate 12.
Okay. Mayor Brown? And
Mary?
Thank you. And I reviewed our video and identified at 2 hours and 20 minutes. We had discussed this, and it really, the majority was 12 with some flexibility.
Okay. So am I hearing that we want to go back to 12? Oh, Joe?
Yeah, I'd like to add something. On one hand, I like 10 for residential neighborhoods. The problem is putting a paintbrush across this whole town doesn't seem to cut it. We have neighborhoods, especially on the north side, that are completely welcoming to short-term rentals, and there are homes there that can hold, and do hold right now, 16 people. And I talked to an owner that has several of them for many years. And whether it be 10 or whether it be 12, it's not going to meet the needs of some mixed areas and some downtown areas that already have large numbers of short-term rentals, where the neighborhood and the owners are perfectly happy with that. But if I have to go one way or the other, I'm going to go for the residents in wards 1 and 2, where it's really a problem. That's the people standing up most of the time. I don't know if it's too late now to have a different capacity for, let's say, I'm just picking this Ward 3 or downtown versus 1 and 2. But if we have to have one for the whole town, then I think, as much as I like 10, I think it's really so restrictive, and I agree with George, when you look at this, it would really harm a lot of short-term rentals. So 12 seems like a good compromise for the whole town.
Thank you. It sounds like we have a consensus for 12.
Mayor Brown, may I add, so one thing I've heard is, and we received emails to that effect also, is multi-generational people having family reunions. And so, you know, how can we encourage families coming with children? I mean, you have your grandparents, you have 2 adult siblings, each married, children from that. So trying to dovetail the parking issues that we have in wards, you know, south of the river, because Ward 3 is also in that area. And that's why I had proposed looking at the number of bedrooms and on-site parking, and I think that is most critical south of the river. I mean, I've walked around there on a Saturday morning and had to walk into the street more often than on the sidewalk on a busy holiday week, or on a Saturday morning, any Saturday morning. And so, yes, enforcement is key, making sure the garage is available. I had mentioned that for the inspection, that would be would be necessary to prove that the on-site parking was available. I would like to ensure parking size for consistency. But as we've heard, Monroe Park is quite unique. It's always been constrained on parking. And so for certain areas, we may want to look at an overlay where it is not burdensome, and that would be potentially just the Monroe Park area. But I hate to try and cast the same net across every area when I think there's some fine tuning that could be done to address the issues, and have something better. But as residents have said, the key is enforcement. And we need to make sure that the parking spaces that are alleged to be available are actually available. Because I know of instances where the garage was not available, where the garage has been turned into a play area, and that just, if it's not available, it can't be counted as a parking space, and it could affect occupancy.
Okay, you can move on.
Okay. I did know that we didn't make the changes to it, but it has been brought up, and actually one of the comments tonight was about the special events. Yeah, I know that George and I had talked, and there was concern that was a very vague, I wouldn't say vague, it's a very expansive section, is the special events. George, did you want to kind of comment on any of that?
Can you remind me what page that's on?
Sure, this is going to be on page 72. And this wasn't struck out or anything, but it was something that was kind of raised, and I did put that in the staff report to look at that provision.
72J?
Yeah, I
Yes.
guess I just see that as being, and this is kind of one of my general themes, is there's a lot of stuff in here that seems to me to be difficult to enforce. And this is one of those examples where it's vague, and as one of the speakers mentioned, that wouldn't allow for, if somebody was an owner, for them to, have some kind of a law, it talks about lawn parties. What is a lawn party? Or a group event, what is a group event? Is it 2 people? So, I don't see a need for that myself, but.
And weddings are allowed in city residence now.
Yes.
Okay. How would you like to edit that item,
I would get rid of it.
the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? Mary?
But, so there was a discussion of having that similar to the fireworks, that those would not occur except when occupied by the property owner. Although I can see some aspects with the reunions, I think the larger concern is concerts, which are going to be much louder, and things like that. So I think striking the whole thing would potentially cause other problems. I think striking reunions, which tend to be family-related, commensurate with residential areas, fine, but having the other events restricted to when the property owner is there, because they have a higher probability of getting louder and causing more impact on the neighborhood.
Well, that's what the noise ordinance is for, so.
I'm okay with reunions. A group event could be a T-ball game. And as I said, weddings are permissible in our city residence. I don't know what a lawn party is, and I can see removing concerts. What do you think, Jeff?
I tend to be on the same vein as what George is suggesting. Although concerts, like Mary said, gives me pause, that I would like something, but, well, the noise ordinance would speak to that. So.
You're okay
Yeah,
with eliminating the whole thing?
Yep.
Letitia?
I kind of agree with what Mary said about the concerts, maybe we should say, we shouldn't strike the whole thing and we should have no concerts. Because when you say that, I mean, just think about it. You know, someone have a big band sitting out there. You're not going to like that if you're in that area. So I think keep no special events, but I think the only thing that should be included in that is just the lawn parties and the concerts. I think everything else is pretty much fine.
Joe?
I go back to what a short-term rental is. Short-term rental is for families to get together, to sleep together, eat together, and enjoy each other's company. They're not there to rent a property to have a party, have a special event, weddings, or anything else. You asked the question one time, well, you like to have family over. How do you distinguish between the two? It's easy. When it's your property, have the party, have the wedding, have whatever you want, keep the noise down, and be kind to your neighbors, and I don't see that being a problem. But when it's not an owner and it's a short-term rental and they start having parties and events, that's when you have problems. And it just isn't part of what a short-term rental is. And at some point, we have to curtail that. And one of the ways, talk about enforcement, enforce it by not allowing it, period. No special events, in my opinion. So I take what Mary's saying and what Letitia's saying, make it even a little stronger.
I can strike the concerts and the lawn parties, and it may be a good idea to add the same as with the fireworks in that they can't do this when it's occupied by anyone other than the property owner. That seems to be a good kind of compromise. If that's
Okay.
good.
Clarification. So you said strike, but I think we would leave in the concerts and the lawn parties, and the weddings. I think reunions could be stricken, right? If we're leaving it in.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So just take out the reunions then? Is that?
I think reunions, I think group events, because that's so vague. And lawn parties, I don't know. That appears vague also. My only concern with relying on the noise ordinance is we have to call our South Haven PD, and in the summertime, they do a fantastic job. But you can only be in one place at one time. And having them be the monitor of noise on top of crimes, that's a lot in the summer. And by the time they get there, it could be gone. So then there's an enforcement issue. Not for lack of trying. That's not it. It's just there's only so many people, and in the summer, they are busy. So.
Mayor, back to what Mary's just saying. If I read this, and I've read it 3 times just today alone, somewhere in there it says when a resident complains about a short-term rental, it has to go to the manager or the owner. They have 48 hours to respond. So if there's a party or an event in the yard and they complain, it's 2 days before anything gets done. So I think if we don't have this and we don't make it inclusive, then we're opening the door to more problems.
So your suggestion is
Keep it exactly the way it is,
the way it's,
the way it's written.
Reunions? Reunions too?
I'm sorry.
Reunions?
okay,
I'm okay with taking one thing out. I just want it as close as possible the way it's written.
okay, so reunions are permissible.
I'm more than willing to compromise that. Thanks.
Great. Concerts are not permissible. We don't know what lawn parties are, so we're going to take that out.
Take it out. No, keep it in. No lawn parties.
What's a lawn party?
It's a party. Short-term rentals are not there to have parties in the yard or anywhere else. It's there for sleeping and families to eat and have fun together. I don't see it has to be parties. That's when you start to getting noise. That's when you start getting people who aren't sleeping there visiting to be part of the party, and you start getting large groups. And that's what causes the problems. Short-term rentals want to be able to rent and stay in the neighborhoods. then let them. But let's put some restrictions, and parties is a simple restriction. That's not asking a whole lot to give up if I was a short-term rental owner.
Let's change the word lawn to loud.
Or-
Okay, group events,
My opinion, no,
no group events.
no group.
A group event is a reunion.
I'm willing to compromise it. I don't want to hold it up.
Well, but she's just trying to get the staff directions.
So if that helps, then okay.
Wedding events,
No.
weddings are allowed in your backyard.
I'm an owner, so they can be in my backyard. They can be on the beach. We allow one company to have on the beach. But I'm not a short-term rental owner, and I wouldn't expect to have a wedding on a rental property.
If the short-term rental owner says, yes, sure, you had to have a wedding while you're here.
I would say no, they can't.
And I would support that, because on your own property, you have a relationship with your neighbors, you let them know what's happening, they're more than likely invited. Whereas you have a short-term rental coming in, you don't know who it is, you don't know how large it is, you don't know the noise level.
Yeah, I can agree with you, because if you say wedding, it could end up being 50 to 100 people with a wedding, and then we would have to go in there and put stipulations and say no more than 25 people if you have a wedding. So I'd say, I agree with you, no weddings.
Any opinion?
Sorry. Contemplating everything. Probably, yeah, leave weddings in. I know in Ward 2, we had a problem with the short-term rental advertising as a wedding destination.
Okay. George?
Yeah, I don't agree with it.
Okay. So reunions would be allowed.
If that's what the group wants. I'd prefer not to.
I-
But I'm more than willing to support it, as long as we can keep the rest in.
But you know what we're getting into is, how are you going to control the numbers?
Yeah, I
You would
agree
have-
with
You would
Letitia.
have to put, like, there's a max. Because when I think about a reunion, a family reunion, I'm looking at, if it's my family, you're talking about 100, 150 people. But if you're talking about just an intermediate family, that could be smaller, but where we're going to put them, limit, how we're going to say, you can only have X amount of people. So you can't say I don't think you can say a family reunion I'm just thinking about the short-term rentals in my area. I would not be happy if 100 people are in the backyard, because that's going to be loud. And there's going to be music. And there's going to be a lot of carrying on for a long time. I don't know, we almost back to what George said.
Okay, how about no special events? And the things that are not included are those that are listed.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
So we're leaving it as it is.
I think so.
Were we going to add, except when the property owner is present?
Yeah, we should definitely add that.
Yeah, similar to the fireworks provision?
Right.
Okay. All right, so striking out nothing, but adding that kind of provision for both, I think I and J. Okay.
Yep.
So if I understand all right, we're going to say none of this is allowed unless the owner's there, and then all if it's allowed.
It'd be like.
It's fine with me, as long as the
Great.
owner's there.
Thank you. Okay,
Just one for I, it really should say STR dwelling unit, because dwelling is not the living.
Yep, I missed one. Okay, I'll get that in there too.
There's a couple other, I'll send them.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
thank you. Moving on, Kate?
Yes, the other thing that we wanted to talk about is the parking. Staff and our attorney Cliff Bloom have just kind of, there's parking that's in here, but it's kind of unwieldy. And I think, in talking with Cliff and Kelly, is that maybe we should just have the parking follow the zoning ordinance instead of adding another parking scheme that has to be kind of evaluated every time with the permit, but you now have two different parking restrictions, one in the zoning ordinance, and now this would be in the regulatory ordinance. Zoning ordinance obviously is going through a codification and things like that, but we've kind of set up, a parking restrictions as part of the zoning. What are your thoughts on that?
George, thoughts on that?
Well, I'm okay with that, but I'd like to see what that looks like here, because I have some issues with the way some of the stuff is worded in the current draft related to parking. And if it's all going to go away, that's kind of eliminates my comment. But, yeah, because you've got areas like the Central Business District, which doesn't require parking, for a dwelling unit. And, we've gotten feedback that, yeah, it's okay to have short-term rentals in the Central Business District. Well, if we're not going to allow if we're saying a short-term rental has to have parking, that pretty much eliminates the Central Business District, which is where people have said they want short-term rentals. So, yeah, if we go with what's in the zoning ordinance, that would help in that area.
Madam Mayor?
Mary?
Yeah, as I indicated in my comments over the weekend, right now, the CBD does not require a parking space for the first dwelling unit, but the zoning rewrite does require a parking space. So that's going to significantly impact the CBD STRs and just residential and CBD in general. And more importantly, the new zoning ordinance doesn't have short-term rental parking tied to the zoning district in which it occurs. It's flat out 2 per unit. So where they are now, if they need none or 1, they're now going to be required to have 2, plus 1 for each room over 3 bedrooms. So either the new zoning ordinance that was sent to City Council from Thursday's Planning Commission meeting needs some revisions to be more aligned with how it currently is, which, or we're going to have some significant changes to people, and they're not going to appreciate that. So it's fine to tie it to the zoning ordinance, and the current zoning ordinance and the new zoning ordinance are different, and so that needs to be reconciled to appreciate the effects.
Jeff?
I would like to follow the staff recommendation of having parking requirements tied to zoning. And I understand what Mary was just saying, but we'll deal with that when we get to it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I agree with Jeff. Letitia? I agree with Mary. I think that we should deal with it all now, and so I think that it all needs to be looked at, and it should be tied to zoning. So, but like she said, they're not all matching. So,
Joe?
Yeah, I agree. We should do it now. As Mary said, I don't want to procrastinate. People have waited so long for this. Let's get it done.
let's take a look at what it looks like when it's connected to zoning.
Okay.
And I just have a question that someone brought up to me. What about an existing short-term rental that's been in existence for a decade? They have 2 parking spaces. And if they are told you need another parking space, but they don't have room, what are they supposed to do? Are they grandfathered in, or can they get a special, can they go to the zoning administrator for a waiver or something?
I guess I can run that by Cliff, but if the way I read this, if you're going with the impossibility, you could make a case for why you could do without the third parking space.
Okay.
But I don't see that, I haven't heard from any, I'm sorry, Mary, did you have?
No, finish.
I was just thinking that I'm not sure how council feels about that clause in particular when it comes to parking, so I guess I'd look for some feedback on that.
Well, so my understanding is if we're going to the zoning ordinance, all of that comes out. And so there wouldn't be an impossibility, because I thought that we were saying that that's not acceptable. I'm very concerned with putting that much authority in an administrative decision, because that's effectively changing the zoning ordinance without due process of the community that would be impacted from that short-term rental. And that was one reason we are looking at it in the regulatory ordinance. And so, you know, one question I had posed is if we're updating the regulatory, and I apologize for the legal aspect of this, if we're updating the zoning ordinance and we're updating the regulatory ordinance and relying on the zoning ordinance, which one prevails? And because with zoning, we have grandparenting. With regulatory, we do not, and it's as is. And so I know that was one reason we were moving parking into regulatory, because that is a significant concern. And I would actually even go further to say that parking should also be dependent on the amount of occupants, because we do see that, as everyone says, the most you see in a car is 4 people. You don't see 6. And I appreciate that the online reports were in here, but I had inquired about complaints to the city staff. And Kate had indicated that there were about 800 emails that would have to be reviewed, and I don't know what time frame that covered, whether it was just this year or previous years. But there are more complaints. There just wasn't time to have it in a form to include in the agenda packet.
Let's,
I guess, if I may, the 800 emails was, I just got back from vacation, and I had all those, they're not necessarily tied to STR complaints, it was just my inbox was overstuffed. So we've got the STR hotline summary that was put in the report. I know some people are upset that the names are in there, but this is all FOIA-able information that can be shared. What we do is we redact any kind of personal information such as cell phones or telephone numbers or emails. But this is a report that we got from the host compliance hotline that we implemented last December. So that's where the information was coming from.
Right, and we also have a report from November of '23 that had reports, but it didn't go into any detail about parking, and that's what I had inquired about, the Granicus report, but also what report the city has received, because I know of complaints to city personnel, and there isn't any record in the BSNA showing a warning was issued, so I'm guessing it was determined it was a non-issue. But I know of a few reports, and there's not any warning letter. So I don't think the Granicus report is complete, a complete picture of all of the complaints. And so I don't want people thinking that we're making these changes just because there's only the Granicus reports, because there are complaints in the Granicus report. There are more complaints. I've heard from citizens, and we heard from people tonight that they made complaints, and they're not in the Granicus report, and they've made complaints to the agents. And so that's just not complete.
we're going to keep on track, and we're going to follow staff's recommendation to go with zoning. Look at zoning's effect on parking, and let's move on.
The other kind of major.
Can I add just one quick point?
Yep.
And I think somewhere in your rhetoric, Mary, you touched on it. I don't want the zoning manager to have this subjective decision-making on a lot of these issues. I want these issues to be as clear-cut as possible, so we know exactly what the rules are, so the residents know what the rules are, so they're not asking or waiting for the zoning administrator to make these kind of judgments. She's already inundated with items, and I don't think it's fair to have the residents not know exactly, or city council exactly where we stand on some of these issues. So I want this document to be as clear and as concise as possible and leave no ambiguity, as little as possible, and not leave it up to the zoning administrator.
And actually, you read probably in our documents that the state law dictates the power and the responsibilities of the zoning administrator. We can move on now.
Thank you, Mayor. There's two things I wanted to kind of clarify is, one, in our existing ordinance, we do have the registered agent being 45 miles from the property, not minutes, because minutes can be, well, variable on, well, construction time or traffic. So we've gone with miles, but I also know in the draft here, we have either 45 miles or 30 miles. So I guess I was looking for some clarification from City Council. Are you looking to stay with the 45 miles, or are you looking to go down to 30 miles for the registered agent?
What page?
Let me find that page.
And for clarification, the 30 miles was recommended because that's what's in the state law pending in Lansing with regard to the STR law.
Page 70.
64, page 64, George.
I just want to make a point that in the past, we followed what we thought was going to be a state law about the size of windows, and then that changed. So once bitten, twice shy. So I'm hesitant to follow laws that are not even on the books now.
But we also have the policy power to change it, just like we have the policy power to say what the zoning administrator will or won't have the authority to do, because we are setting the policy with the legislation that we're creating.
George?
I'm good with 30 miles.
Joe?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Jeff?
30.
Letitia?
Go with 30.
We're all good.
Okay. All right, got that for 30 miles. The other section I wanted to bring your attention to was the single-family use. That's on page 76. I remember that our discussion last time was there was some concern with that, that provision. Just wanted to make sure, is that striking out correct?
Did you say page 76?
Yes.
P, striking out P.
Yes.
Got it.
The old P. Yeah.
Right.
I'm good with that.
Yes.
Are we all okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Those were the changes that I had. I do know that we had some other conversations about which offenses would count as part of your 3 strikes rule, if you will. I know, Jeff, you had brought that up. Was there any discussion that you wanted to kind of narrow those down, or if there's anything you wanted to take off the table, or I guess any kind of suggestions there?
I guess I didn't, I certainly felt that a trash can being out an hour too long, a half a day too long, is not the same as not working smoke detectors and, not properly noticed windows and those kinds of things. But I didn't take the time to put it all on a scale.
Okay.
Yeah.
George?
Which section are we talking about now?
This is section 10-245 violations on page 78 and 79.
Okay, and the one thing I had on that section, it kind of goes back to where we use dwelling unit. And in a lot of the sections, this is on, well, mostly on page 77, it talks about SDR property. It seems like a lot of the violations are tied to an STR property versus an STR dwelling unit. And if you have, let me see if I can find the specific example. There's properties, say a condominium, that could have several STR dwelling units. It seems like there's, the way it's worded, you could have a violation on that property just because of the number of dwelling units it has, and it could exceed its limit of violations. So it seems like we use property in this part of the code of ordinances when we should be using
Dwelling unit?
dwelling unit again.
You would agree?
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I had included, I believe, in some of my notes that I had sent in August, and
Okay, what section are we on now?
This would be section 10-245 on page 78 and 77. So what I can do is work to kind of clean that area up, or that section, that kind of area up, to be more dialed in on the dwelling unit rather than the property. So we can address that.
Madam Mayor?
Gary?
Yeah, so, for the violations, so number 6 at the bottom of page 76 for prohibitions, that has that blank line, and, a lot or parcel with 2 or more dwellings on it, I think that's supposed to be dwelling units, but, looking back at our ordinances, and I think this is where some things maybe possibly fell through the cracks. Our ordinance only allows 1 principal dwelling unit and 1 use on a property. And, the others would be accessory dwellings, but we have a lot of cottages. And how do we address that in light of our current zoning ordinance? I would like to understand exactly what is intended with that space, the blank line at the end of that, so that we can address it appropriately under our zoning ordinance to make sure the 2 are aligned. Because there just seems to be a concern that, ensuring that there's proper parking, and there's just a lot of, it'll be better to address once we know what's there, but knowing with the understanding that our current zoning ordinance really only allows 1 principal dwelling. Accessory dwellings are the others. We're not supposed to have accessory dwelling units. So just trying to have reconciliation to avoid misunderstandings.
So this is page 76 where there's the blank space there. And I guess the way I read that was that we would either itemize or list out the properties that we know have 2 or more units on there. And some of those are going to be existing or nonconformities that predated either the ordinance or whatnot. I couldn't tell you where they all came from or when they were installed, but the number 5, the STR multiple reports unit per parcel, we were trying to show that these are the ones that we do know about. That was the purpose for that report, is to share these are the properties that we know that there are multiple units per parcel.
Okay, well, I expect to have some comments about that. I won't take time right now. The main thing with, yeah, so we are just on 78, 77, 78 still?
Yes.
Okay.
I just have a question back on page 76, number 6 that Mary was talking about. So the existing lots that have 2 or more dwelling units or buildings, those are grandfathered in.
Yes, I
Got it.
believe so.
Well, Madam Mayor, point of order. I think the grandfathering, and I've raised this before with grandfathering, so the way the current ordinance is written, there were two timeframes. So you had to establish grandfathering if you had registered by December 31st, 2018. I believe Ms. Krupiarts was off. She said January 1st, 2018, but I believe she meant January 1st, 2019. At that point in time, requirements became, there were additional requirements and grandfathering was not guaranteed. And this is where I have routinely said that I do not approve the language saying lawfully existing as of December 31st, 2023, which will probably now be changed to December 31st, 2024. I'm concerned that lots that have issues will be improperly grandparented, because they will not. You cannot have a permit if it was not properly granted, if it didn't meet the zoning requirements. And that became more clear as we were going through the zoning ordinance, and there was reference made to destruction of an STR and a lawful non-conforming parcel. And for anything granted on or after January 1st, 2019, there should not be any non-conforming lot. It should all conform with the zoning ordinance. And I know residents are very concerned about that, about not having previous misunderstandings or whatever, but where permits were improperly granted, those should not be rubber stamped by not appreciating the wording of our 2018 amendments.
So on item 6, it says any lot or parcel with 2 or more dwellings thereon except for blank.
Yes.
So what goes in the blank?
A list, I presumed it was going to be some kind of a list of parcels that currently do have multiple units per parcel. That's one thing we can do. Otherwise, there's other ways to do it, but I think that's, when I read that from that language, that's what I expected to be added there. We can get some clarity from Cliff on that if you'd like.
Okay. That would be good.
Just a placeholder.
Okay. Are we back on infractions?
Yes, so I guess we're on page 78, 77. Anything else that council wants to get into on those?
I know in the past we heard from people who, wanted to make sure that the infractions were serious, not just a piece of paper outside of the garbage can.
Yeah, that was my thought as well.
I think we're all on the same page for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I know certain things, noise, parking, over occupancy. I think those are key factors. With regard to this and the warnings, the process of the city, is it that you send 3 warning letters before anything is done?
I believe, yes, there's 3 warnings, but that's for general Zoning issues, yes.
So how is this going to be done? Because 3 warnings basically means there will never be any civil infractions. Because we have different renters each time. So it's enforcement. And if the enforcement is if execution of enforcement doesn't result in anything, then we're right back where we're at. That we don't have any teeth in the enforcement part.
Well, the provision says that the property owner, the local agent, or any renter or occupant could be cited. So it doesn't have to go with just the renter, and that's something that's, I think, present in our current code. And the idea is that, yes, the owner and the agent are responsible for the party, and that there may be times where the local, the renter or occupant, as you say, are moving on all the time, but the property owner and the agent are still responsible for that property.
Let me rephrase. So you give 3 warning letters before you give a citation.
Yes.
So I've been at a seminar where they only do 2 warning letters, but that is when a specific instance, trying to get something into compliance, blight, something long-term. This is not long-term. This is constantly moving. And so you're not going to necessarily have the same offenses from the different renters. So if you're requiring 3 warning letters, and if it's resolved because of the transientness of the activity, I don't ever see a civil infraction being issued.
I can tell you, there's been many people who've actually gotten a civil infraction. It could be trash, it could be for a number of things. Noise is not, noise may be a civil infraction, but it's going to be issued by the police department, not by the zoning department. Those don't get 3 notices. Those get, oh, we're here, we found this violation, we're going to be handling it. So when I say that there's 3 notices that are given, it's typically for your lawn grass, it's your trash bin, maybe it's an RV that's parked in the wrong spot. Those are the things that are typically, we give the 3 notices so people have the opportunity to come into compliance. It's the same thing with the STR hotline. The idea is that it's there for residents who say, hey, this is going on. I don't want to wait till tomorrow, or I want to get some action now. So that's why they have, the registered agents are contacted, and there's a very quick turnaround on that.
How many citations have come from reports to the hotline?
I think 2 or 3.
When I read the report line page in our packet, I felt confident about the reaction to the complaints that were being made and how quickly it was handled.
Many times the issues can be resolved within 45 minutes. That's the goal.
But do we have a log, for lack of a better description, of how many times they're called? And that's the thing. So, again, it's resolving the issue, but if it's noise and parking, when will it go from a warning to a citation? Because until it goes to a citation, there's no incentive to not prevent it from happening. If it's always a warning, there's no incentive to prevent it from reoccurring.
Is Mary's concern something that's handled by the police department?
Some are. I mean, noise is going to be, if you're calling the STR hotline, hopefully they can get it quieted down. But if it's not being abated, then yes, then the police need to come out there and write a ticket. And typically, we're looking for someone to sign the ticket.
Thank you. I think the majority of us feel confident that this will work this way. Any other questions? George, any comments?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
So if it doesn't work this way, we can always go back and change it, can't we?
Yes.
Yes. Nothing stopped us before, right?
Just takes time.
Just takes time.
I don't have any more comments on this section. I do
Okay.
have some other comments as
Okay,
I've gone through it.
go ahead.
All right, first is kind of a general comment. So I'm a little concerned about, and this is something that was brought up by one of the people making a comment, that this reads a lot like a zoning ordinance versus a regulatory ordinance. I just kind of counted up the number of times the zoning administrator is mentioned in this draft code of ordinance. It's like 25 times. The current code of ordinances has the zoning administrator like 4 times. And 2 of those are with the current short-term rental section of the code of ordinances. So I'm concerned that we're trying to do zoning in the code of ordinances. And so if you could talk to Cliff on that to see if that's the case, and it might even be worthwhile to get somebody, a Williams and Works person, to kind of look at this and see if they are in agreement on that. I'm going off the red line right now, so on page 76 of the red line version, it talks about maintenance, operation, and condition, and it talks about every STR property dwelling unit shall be well-maintained and operated and kept in good condition, repair, and appearances at all times. So, to me, this is another implementation, enforcement issue that it is every STR owner's incentive to maintain their property and their major appliances in good operating condition. I don't think we need to have our people trying to monitor this, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so
Would you like to eliminate O?
I would, yeah.
Jeff?
Just for O, yeah, I tend to agree with George, although, like furnace or hot water heater, I wouldn't mind if, when Shays is checking those buildings, that they take a peek, for carbon monoxide, fire threat, stuff stacked against
They do check for that.
in that, so
Yep.
I wouldn't mind that being left, but yeah, all the other stuff.
Because there's, I think, regulations as to how closely you can put things around your water heater and in front of your electric box and things like that. So they do check that. That's part of the fire code.
Well, if they're doing that already, then yeah, we could strike it all.
Joe?
I'd like to see O stay in there. I have too many friends that rent properties out, and the moment you take appliances and different things like that you take for granted, if they're not in the contract and a consumer, the resident, the renter complains, the only way they can make sure it's absolutely going to be done is have it in there. And good STR owners, which I think the vast majority, they don't mind it. I wouldn't think they'd mind because they're going to do it anyhow, so leave it in. The big one that I just want to add, because
So you agree with George?
I think it should be in there,
It should be left in?
in. Yes, I'm on the opposite side.
Letitia?
I was just reading. I'm going to agree with Mr. Reeser. That it should stay in there.
Okay, let's keep it in.
Excuse me? You didn't
Mary.
ask me.
Go ahead.
I agree with Reeser, Councilman
That's what I
Reeser.
thought.
Yeah, but you can't assume.
Okay, keep it in. George, did you have another comment?
Yep, on that same page, so under prohibitions, number 1, we talk about, again, the prohibitions against any pole barn, outbuilding, bunkhouses, your similar item or use. I'm assuming that means you can't sleep in any of those places, but it doesn't really say that clearly in my mind. It talks about any tiny house or dwelling that does not meet the minimum dwelling size of the code. Okay, if you have a dwelling that is smaller than the code, it would be a zoning ordinance issue, or it would be a legally non-conforming dwelling unit, and that would be okay. So it kind of gets back to what we were talking about before, when with item number 6. And then number 4, any house, dwelling, cottage, or cabin that was unlawfully built, expanded, or modified. So my question on that is, how are we going to know that? You have houses that are over 100 years old. Are you going to go back through the entire history of that property, trying to figure out if it was ever unlawfully modified? It just seems like a lot of work for not much of a benefit, in my mind.
So are you suggesting eliminating 1, 2, and 4?
Yes.
Any discussion?
What page?
We're on page 76.
76.
Yeah, I have a question, Jen. If we get rid of number 1 or number 2, how would that affect people who had these pole barns or tiny homes that did not meet these? So can they come back and get a permit, or?
What do you think, Kate?
Well, this kind of also, I guess presupposes that we would be issuing more permits, and I got the impression that council's kind of happy where the number is right now, so.
Absolutely, but my concern is that I do know of a person that this kind of happened to. They had a tiny home or some type of dwelling or whatever you want to call it anyways. It did not meet the code. It was, I believe, too small. So I'm just saying, would that cause an issue for people that we told they couldn't rent them?
I don't think so, but I can check with Cliff on that.
Okay.
Mary, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm concerned about removing them without looking at it further.
So you'd like to look at it further?
Yeah, I'm not ready to delete things from that right now.
Okay. Let's make time to look at this further. George, any other? Let's go on with your comments.
Let's see, I think I just got one more. Yeah, so top page 77, number 1 there, property owner of every STR property must ensure all requirements of this code and the zoning ordinance are met for the STR property at all times. To me, this is just something that says you need to follow the codes. I don't see a need to have it in here. It's just extra words that aren't needed.
So number 1 is redundant.
It's at the beginning of every code and the zoning ordinances that you got to follow these codes and ordinances, so.
So take number 1 out? It's not needed.
That's my recommendation, yeah.
Madam Mayor?
Mary?
So, being the lawyer background, that may be necessary to assist with enforcement purposes. So I would request guidance from Cliff on removal of anything under Q.
And George, did you say something about number 2?
No, I didn't. But,
Right.
I mean, all my comments, basically, I would advocate, that Cliff, I was kind of hoping he would be here today, but he should weigh in on all the suggested changes that we're
Okay.
willing to make.
We'll check with Cliff about number 1.
Yep.
Anything else, George?
Nope.
Kate,
That's all I had. I'm not sure if anybody else had any comments.
go ahead.
And these just came up from some of our guests tonight. The tags on the window year-round, if they're a personal short-term rental and it's off-season, do they have to leave them up?
I'd have to look into that. I know the business ones are posted all year round. I'm not sure about the personals. I thought they were doing them all year round, but I guess I'm not sure.
And it sounds like maybe we think about letting them take it down. And then the other one, I think it was the same guest, talked about if it's a homestead. I don't see why that would be hard for us to put it in the BSNA or, so that,
Homesteads are MBS, and I think
Okay.
what I heard from the comment is that they want to have that in the registration packet. My concern, however, is that the homesteading, or the principal residence exemption could be filed and then taken off the next day. So it's something that is it's something that operates independently. It's from the assessor's office, and there's also timeframes with when it has to go on taxes and not. So I guess you could ask for it, but understand that this is a year, registration that's good for a year, and that may change in the timeframe.
okay, that was it.
Mary?
Comment for each of those. For the sticker, could we incorporate something similar like we did for fireworks and special events, that it does not have to be up when it's occupied by the homeowner?
Yeah, I mean, that's,
And I think that would resolve a lot of the concerns. For the PRE, can we put in the application that they're supposed to certify that I actually think it already has a requirement to identify whether it's PRE or not, and that they would need to inform the city within X amount of days. I think 45 days is the time that they're supposed to register after a sale or not claiming PRE, that they would have to update their application so that the city would know whether it was or not PRE.
I see. I know the new language, we are talking about having certain restrictions for personals, but that would be for any new personals. I guess I'd have to look.
I'm sorry, I thought it was for all STR applications, wasn't it? Because I think that's what the comment was, is that people looking to rent any STR are looking to see if the owner, if it's owner-occupied type home, or whether it's an investment property.
They're looking to shop local, if you will.
I see.
Yes, and
How
so.
could we help them to identify that?
Let's let Kate
Not
have
sure.
some
Yeah, think
time
about
to
it.
check
Think
this
about
out.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that one, because right now, your principal resident exemption is online right now.
Yeah.
You can see it
Yep.
and see if a person is claiming that or if they're not.
But, and maybe Sue could help identify how it's identified and what we might need to do to help assist with that.
And we're all okay with having the permit taken down when it's not short-term rental
When it's
season?
owner-occupied.
Not in use.
Anything else, Mary?
Yeah, so I just want to touch first briefly on the complaints. So it would be nice to have a log of how many complaints the city has held that were reported separately from Granicus. Not Granicus sent to the city, but residents calling or contacting the city, because I know that I know of at least a handful, just personal, within the last 3 weeks, that were to the city and not to, or I should say within the last month, to Granicus. And I see no warning letter sent out. So I assume the city determined it wasn't an issue, or maybe it's still in investigation. But that would be nice to have a more complete list of complaints, because the Granicus list is incomplete. Looking at the reports from November 2023 about 15% or so of the complaints resulted in civil infraction. But the way that those reports are written, it doesn't look like anything, it's not clear if any were related to parking. So it would be nice to have that information that was submitted to the city. For the renewal, and I've seen too frequently where the renewal is filed and then it's on hold and then it's issued, that the registration is issued, and 1+ months lapse. And the next annual registration is dated the day it's issued. So there is 1+ months of rent free. There's a gap. And I would like to see the registration process require that the registration application be filed, 30 days before the expiry date. I had provided comments to that effect, such that it's on time. And the way it's worded, it puts too much burden on the staff. I think the burden should be put on the certificate holder to file it. These are all now seasoned certificate holders. They should know the process. And there was a recommendation, I believe, at the last time to try and organize the registration so they're not during the peak summer, so that the inspections are not during guest rental time, so that we can get all the registrations out of the peak summer. They're done timely so that there's no lapse where it's getting rented for free, with the next renewal being dated, the issue date, as opposed to, that can be 1+ months after the expiry date.
I'd like to hear staff's opinion on that and the zoning administrators.
Yeah, I'll run this by her. I do know that with the new staff members that we do have, we had quite a bit of a backlog some time ago, and we assisted getting through that with hiring a part-time person to kind of get through that. I can tell you that we now have a system in place where people are starting, we start to remind folks 90 days, 60 days, and 30 days to renew. Start your renewal process now. And yeah, it'd be nice to have most of our renewal inspections or our inspections occurring not in the peak season, but sometimes that's just kind of when their date falls. And it's, I know we had talked about maybe doing like a calendar year, getting all the inspections done in January. That's just not feasible. No. I mean, we have so many properties and it does take time to go through them. So I can work with Kelly to get more information as to that process, but I can tell you that many people are starting theirs early because they do not have permission to rent beyond that. So we have issued tickets for those.
Yeah, but they do rent during the inspection time, and so that's what I had provided language. I can resend it to you for consideration, just to remove the burden from the staff and try and get it more proactive. For the fees, I have heard from more than one person that the city set fees, there's a request to consider having it based more on the size. You know, an efficiency condo is going to be less expensive than a 7-bedroom home. And it takes a lot, it should take a lot less time for Shays for an efficiency than a 7-bedroom home. And renters would like to see that distributed more evenly, commensurate with the amount of time that would be required for the inspection. That's something that could be looked into, and that would become more important as the fees are, as one person presented it to me, if we are ratcheting down the number of short-term rentals, the administrative fees are going to be covered by fewer people, so then the fees are going, the distribution, or I should say, the average is going to go up. So just trying to anticipate, trying to keep things commensurate with the size of the unit and how much they can charge. And for violations, I really would like to see incorporation of court and legal costs being borne by anyone who is taken to court and the city prevails. because that should not be put into the kitty for the law-abiding short-term rental owners to have to shoulder the legal costs to enforce the laws. That should be borne by the one who's not doing the right thing.
We don't have consensus on your comments, but we'll take them into consideration. We're going to move on to other people who didn't have a chance to talk. Any other comments? Joe?
Yeah, I think we covered everything I wanted to go over, plus some. But there is one thing that came up, and it really came up today more than ever. The host compliance STR hotline complaint report. While I think it is very good, I hadn't put myself in the place of some of the residents, especially single people, single women in particular. And they called and they're very, very concerned that their name appears on here. So now they've made a complaint, and now everybody in town, but in their neighborhood, knows who made the complaint. And in this environment, take away our nice, beautiful town, but things happen. They're afraid that someone could get, come after them for complaining, and now they're afraid for their own safety. And two of the people I spoke to today said they will never make another complaint because they're afraid to, because their name appears on here. So it seems like an easy fix. Just have this report, but what goes out to the public, just take off the caller name and address. Keep it someplace internally, but don't have the public see it. It serves very little benefit.
The address is actually of the property that was being complained of. It's not the caller's address.
Now, the address right here, has the caller name, which is the person that called it in. Excuse me, isn't the address next to it to the right?
No, it's the reported address. That's the address.
So that's the one, okay.
So they are protected.
So then the only thing we need to do is take off their name.
Yes, but I got to tell you that's FOIAble. I mean, there's no
It what?
it can be FOIA'd, and I guess that's one reason why we wanted to put the
And that's
report
okay.
together.
FOIA is another step that makes it a little more difficult, and the average person in public is not going to go to that extent. And if they go to that extent, then there's a bigger problem. But just try to protect the people that are voicing concerns without them feeling unsafe. And then it ruins the whole reason to have this, because we're trying to say, here's how many complaints we have, but now it's artificially low because people are afraid to complain. And I'm telling you, the females I spoke to today are scared over this. They're scared they've already complained, and they will not do it again. And that's not the intent. So I think it's an easy fix. Take their name off. Sorry, I thought the address was also the person that complained.
George?
Nothing additional.
Letitia?
No.
Jeff?
That was good. I'm good.
Think we're good.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, can I move to have a 5-minute?
Yes,
break?
you may.
Second.
Is there a second? All in favor of taking a brief recess, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? We're in recess.
Joe?
I didn't think it was going to be this
Joe?
long.
You should encourage them to report anonymously.
Sorry, what?
You should encourage them to report anonymously. They don't have to give their name.
And it'll still be.
Look at, there's some anonymous reports in there.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it kind of boils down to petitions, when you do and don't include them. So the petition for the referendum was included, and then people got upset, and then you didn't include the petition earlier this year. So there's just, when it comes to people and a contentious issue, probably should err on the side of blocking out the name. If someone wants a name, let them FOIA it, and there was a phone number left in. Yep. Thank you. non-conforming short-term rentals for permits granted after January 1st, 2019.
The agenda, new business. The City Council will be asked to approve special event application 2024-37, the Headless Horseman Ride and Pet Parade to occur on Saturday, October 26, 2024, from 4 to 7 p.m. in the downtown and in Dykeman Park, Huron Street Pavilion. Is there a motion?
I move to approve special event application 2024-37, Headless Horseman Ride and Pet Parade to occur on Saturday, October 26, 2024, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. in the downtown and in Dykeman Park, Huron Street Pavilion.
Second?
Second it.
Any discussion? Roxanne, would you like to come up and talk? As long as you waited this long?
Please approve. I think the town really enjoys this. We start with a dog pet parade and then a little costume contest. Then a few of the downtown stores will be open for trick-or-treaters from 5 to 6:30. And then the Headless Horseman will ride. I put in the map. She has been doing this since 2015 without any incident and a whole lot of wows. I do think this is something quite unique to South Haven and just a cute little town event.
It's an iconic celebration.
It certainly is.
Well,
So,
thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
All in favor say yes.
Yes. Yes.
Opposed? The motion passes and the special event is approved. Next, the City Council will be asked to consider approval of Resolution 2024-45, a resolution supporting the Great Lakes Coalition, seeking a statewide strategy regarding beach resilience. Kate.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have some members from the Great Lakes Coalition who would be here to talk about their event and what they're asking from the City Council. They're asking for a resolution of support so that the GLC can ask the state to develop a statewide strategy for beach resilience and possibly beach nourishment. Jim Hettinger is on the board, and I can't remember, I don't know the name of the other fellow, but they'll come on up and talk to you all about what the GLC is asking from the City Council.
After what you've been through tonight, we got an easy one for you.
Great. I love it.
In a volunteer capacity for a change, I chair the Public Infrastructure Committee for the Great Lakes Coalition. And with me is my colleague, Ed Oldest.
Good evening.
We are not asking for money. We're not asking for much, but we are asking for the support of the policymakers for the city of South Haven. As you all well know, rising and falling water levels are roughly cyclical over 10 to 15 years period of time. And in spite of us knowing that cycle, we're always underprepared when the extremes of the cycle happen. The state of Michigan has the longest freshwater shoreline in the world, and some of the best and most visited beaches in the country. Our robust tourism is vitalized and sustained by the presence of these very valuable natural resources, and yet we have no strategy to protect and restore our beaches. So I will turn it over to Ed to talk a little bit more about this. We are a 501c3, all volunteers, about 1,200 members in our organization. And we are seeking a little bit of help out of Lansing. And the coastal communities are those communities which are most capable of speaking to these issues.
Thanks, James. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for giving us this opportunity. I'm very impressed at the amount of work you're putting into the short-term rental issue and the importance of it for the community and the businesses in town. And I would suggest to you that the main reason all these guests come to this town is because of your shoreline. And if you had no shoreline, all this manpower would be moot. And that very well may just happen. South Haven, along with most of southwest Michigan shoreline is listed by the state as a high-risk erosion area. This is the state map, and in red is the state's high-rate erosion area, and we're right in the middle of it. And they define high-rate erosion as losing 1 foot or more of shoreline each year for 15 years in a row. So that's an awful lot of beach. And erosion is a natural event and can be accelerated by man-made structures. There are two recent noteworthy data points. First, Guy Meadows, Dr. Guy Meadows, a leading expert on the Great Lakes at Michigan Tech, has recently stated that if we don't do something soon, we will lose our beaches. The second is the release of the 5-year study on the effects of global warming done by the government of Canada. Part of that study looked at lake levels, and their prediction, later verified by engineers in the United States, is that Lake Michigan lake levels will be a foot higher than their all-time high by 2040. We as humans are reactionary, so as lake levels rise, we rise to protect private and public property by hard armoring. Once one property is hard armored, and a domino effect often takes place, and the next property owner hard armors. In New Buffalo, where I live, we are hard armored to the state line, some 5 miles. I have a quick picture, show you what our shoreline looks like. It's not pretty. For 5 miles, that's what our shoreline looks like. Not only do we have no beach to enjoy and walk on, but this situation is dangerous. Boaters in distress no longer have a soft beach to land on. Swimmers in distress cannot get out of the water. Even walking on the revetment is dangerous because the rocks develop a slimy growth that is easy to slip and fall. I know firsthand of this as I had a guest fall and end up in the dental emergency room. The alternate to hard armoring is soft armoring, or armoring, a process used all around the world. Florida has been using this method for 87 years. When sand on the beach is moved to deep water by storms or man-made structures, it is lost forever. This is called the depth of closure. Beach nourishment, an environmentally sound way to promote beach resilience, recaptures that sand and places it back on the beach. All the East Coast and Gulf Coast states have beach nourishment programs and spend annually to protect and restore this natural resource. Some Great Lakes states also have programs. Michigan, with its longest freshwater coastline, in the freshwater coastline in the world, has no program and spends no money. With this resolution, we hope to get the attention of state electives to change that and protect some of the best beaches in the world. So we're asking you to join other communities that have already passed this resolution. The city of St. Joe, the village of Grand Beach, Kishabee Township, Hagan Township, the city of Bridgman, the city of New Buffalo, St. Joe Township, and New Buffalo Township. I thank you for your time, and Jim and I are here if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, may I?
Go ahead.
Are you looking for a motion?
Oh, go ahead.
I would move for the approval of Resolution 2024-45, a resolution supporting the Great Lakes Coalition seeking a statewide strategy regarding beach resilience.
Second.
Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Oh, No, I was just going to say, South Haven has been very progressive. We have a report from June of this year from Edgewater for our shoreline resilience, and it's part of our master plan update. So this is a perfect step at this time.
All in favor say yes.
Yes. Yes.
Oppose? The motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next, the city council will receive an update from interim police chief Patrick Carlotto.
Mayor Brown, council members, thank you for this opportunity to talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on at South Haven PD. As we continue to assess and enhance the operations of the South Haven Police Department, our focus remains on addressing the current challenges while preparing for the future. In light of staffing constraints, community safety concerns, and ongoing training needs, we have developed a set of initiatives that I believe will significantly strengthen our department's ability to serve the community effectively. These initiatives include our recent implemented temporary supervision measures, the proposal for a sponsored police recruit program, and our continued effort to invest in officer development through professional education partnerships. These efforts reflect our commitment to public safety and the long-term success of our department. I'd now like to brief you on a few events that have happened, the first being the anti-Semitic flyer that was recently distributed around the lakeshore. On the 27th of September, our officers were informed about the flyers. We were contacted by members of the community along the Monroe Boulevard area. They provided us a copy of the flyer that contained anti-Semitic information. Within 15 minutes, we were able to locate the vehicle that was distributing the flyers and conducted a traffic stop based on a traffic violation. We identified the suspect who was distributing the flyers, and at the time, we issued him a citation for the traffic violation. We continued with further investigation and consulted both the local city attorney, the state prosecutors, and the federal prosecutors. Based on the information in the flyer and the investigation, it was determined that there was no hate crime that had occurred. It did not meet the threshold for a hate crime, although we strongly condemn the speech. It is protected under the First Amendment. We continue to communicate with different advocacy groups in the community, including the ADL and the local Jewish community here in town, to make sure that there's an understanding and that the community is safe. So we have communicated with the larger community through press releases, and we've updated those, and we will continue to do so as the situation develops. Next, I'd like to discuss the appointment of temporary shift supervisors. Due to recent retirements and promotions, we had a shortage in supervision. So what we're doing now is we've taken letters of interest from different qualified applicants within the department who are interested in supervisory roles, and we'll be appointing them short-term. So these will help us fill those supervisory deficits, and the duration of those will be until a permanent chief is named, after which we'll continue with a full-time supervisory position, which is dictated through contractual obligations. These supervisors will oversee daily operations, ensuring compliance with department policies and maintaining high standards of officer conduct. The next initiative I'd like to discuss is our supervised police recruit proposal. The proposal introduces the sponsored police recruit position to the South Haven Police Department, the recruit expenses to be covered through the MCOLS Public Safety Academy Assistance Program, This initiative will help address staffing needs by covering the cost of police academy training and related expenses for recruits, ensuring that financial barriers do not prevent talented individuals from joining the department. The Public Safety Academy Assistance Program is managed through the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement and Standards, which provides funding to support law enforcement recruitment and training goals across the state. So our primary goals here are to increase our recruitment so we can find qualified people to fill our staffing shortages. We're going to use this grant to leverage some resources to help finance both the academy training and equipment necessary for those people. They will also receive a small stipend while they go through the academy in order to make ends meet. Oftentimes, you find people who wanted to get into law enforcement but started a family or have something else there, and now they can't quit their job in order to go to academy. This helps fill that gap where we can get that stipend and get them into an academy that, again, it's paid for through grant funding, and so is a wage. This also enhances public trust and engagement by investing in residents who can serve their community as law enforcement officers. So we are working on the application progress, trying to streamline some of it so we can find some qualified applicants and get moving on the grant funding. Training and development. We recently partnered with Police One, which is an online training platform that provides training to police officers in over 400 law enforcement courses. Has a wide range of topics including legal updates, tactical operations, community policing, crisis intervention, and leadership development. It's all accredited and aligned with industry standards for professional law enforcement training. This is going to allow us to some cost effectiveness. It allows reduced travel times and accommodations for officers by providing accessible online training. It saves time and resources while delivering high quality, up-to-date training. The convenience factor that there's time on shift where they can take time to train, and it's provided 24-hour access to ensure continuous learning. They all fulfill the continued education requirements for certification and promotions, and they allow for career development, leadership training, and skill enhancement for all officers. It's tracked and immediately updates with the state. Well, every 2 weeks it sends an update to the state, so those continuing education credits are given through state programs. And in conclusion, the steps we've outlined, whether addressing staffing shortage, implementing the sponsored police recruit program funded by the Public Safety Academy Assistance Program, or continuing our partnerships for officer training, are all aimed at strengthening the South Haven Police Department. These initiatives will not only ensure we maintain the high level of service our community expects, but also fosters the growth of a highly trained and professional team for the future. Your continued support is vital to making these efforts a success. Together, we can enhance public safety and maintain the trust and well-being of the citizens we serve. Are there any questions or anything I can explain further? Mr. Reeser?
Yes, first I want to thank you and the police department for quickly coming out with a statement, making it clear to the public that the police department absolutely is against this kind of language, this anti-Semitic language. As you also know, and some people probably in this room know, just south of our town, there was also a racist act that people could see coming and going from South Haven. And I submitted a letter to the editor, and I'm just going to read one sentence because I think it's important for everybody. And it said, I said, solidarity against hatred can be an antidote to spreading of hatred and a way for people to heal feeling respected and valued by their community. This never, I think, never represented our community. I think the mayor said it in one of her letters. And I'm glad that people have spoken up and said, as well as the police department, that this is not what we stand for, and we're not going to tolerate it from anyone. So thank you for taking the leadership role the first hours doing that. That was really good. A second thing, on a positive note, I'm hoping whoever fills the position left by the chief, that some of the community, especially in the southern part of Ward 1, will be able to have some input on the choosing of the next chief, because the one thing that our previous chief of police did, she was absolutely outstanding in bringing the community together and making the people, especially in the southern part of Ward 1, feel respected and heard. And I think that's going to be really important for the next police chief. Thanks.
Any other questions? Mary?
I just want to thank you for the immediate action and also the escalation, bringing in the federal level, state level. I know that was greatly appreciated by our community, and it showed the degree of care and focus that we appreciate in our law enforcement in our community. And I also want to thank you for appearing at the Ward 1 Action Council the other week. I know that they appreciated you being there, coming and introducing yourself, and I know it's appreciated with you in our community and getting out and meeting people, so thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, public comment. Citizens in the audience will be heard on items not on the agenda, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Hi, my name is Lisa McDonald. You know who I am, you know what I want, and you know why I'm here. But tonight I want to talk about other concerns and observations that I have in regards to your lifeguard program. Although many of you may not have seen me in South Haven during the past 2 years, I actually come here very often. I watch every city council meeting from my house, and I talk regularly to the residents of this town. My Facebook group has generated thousands of followers, so I do know what's going on here. I see it, I hear it, I feel it. I recently came to do water safety presentations to the children of your town to keep them safe. During that visit, and many more before that, I have spoken to many, many people. I have a huge following of people supporting, here and online, getting lifeguards back on your beaches. Sadly, these people are afraid to stand up and speak out. They are afraid of repercussions if they do. Sadly, they've seen it or worse, experienced themselves. You should be ashamed and feel a sense of guilt and embarrassment that your own residents feel intimidated by certain people in this room, so much to the point that they won't speak up. This is unacceptable to me, and it should be to you as well. I have seen and heard the bullying that takes place, especially when someone says something you don't want to hear. So I understand why more people don't speak up. Each one of you must reflect on your own behavior and the behavior of your fellow city council members, your mayor, and your city manager. You must change your ways. You have a responsibility to your citizens, the residents that voted you in. Mayor Brown, I'd like to address you. I want to acknowledge that I have seen and heard people begging you for an explanation on why you've made a 180-degree change in lifeguards from your campaign. What I have not seen or heard is your response. Maybe you don't stand up and speak out because you feel the same intimidation and fear that some of your residents do. I believed you when we spoke. I supported you. I promoted you. I promoted you on my website. Anybody who called about my thoughts on you being mayor, I supported you. I am embarrassed that I fell for your lies, and I would like to apologize to your community members that maybe changed their vote because of what I said. They deserve the person who says and acts on it's a moral obligation to protect. That was your campaign slogan, and it's not too late to act on promises. Your community deserves to have people that truly care about this town making decisions for their town. They do not deserve to be lied to, be given a cold shoulder, expected to believe things because one person says it, or have someone who overreaches their place within the city government. It is my understanding city council members review the people employed by the city. I ask you why you have not reviewed and held Ms. Hosier accountable for her actions and behavior. I am confused on so many actions that have taken place in regards to lifeguards under her leadership. She has been falsely quoting professionals in the water safety field. That was brought to your attention at a previous city council meeting. I ask why you haven't seriously looked into her inflated budgets, specifically the lifeguard one, and especially since so many people have brought to your attention that it is highly exaggerated. How can she say additional beach safety items would be an inconvenience? Drowning and death are an inconvenience, not mowing around or going around poles on the beach. Her comments and delivery are often lacking any empathy and most certainly many times lack truth. Why is your city manager contacting people in California about lifeguard programs when there are 2 neighboring towns that have successfully launched successful lifeguard programs and are willing to help? It concerns me that when people or reporters contact the city manager hoping to shed light on things, she is flippant with them. It doesn't look good for your town the way she ignores some reporters and is rude to the ones that do get through.
You have 1 minute.
Many reporters have listed this publicly. I could go on with observations and concerns, but it seems the common denominator is your city manager. It doesn't matter who presents, well-informed residents, concerned citizens, or experts in the field, every idea is shot down. Why are you not questioning things? When others see this, why can't you? Your city and your tourists deserve better. You chose to live and work in this place that attracts thousands of unsuspecting tourists. As Mayor Brown has stated, it is a moral obligation to take care of these people. Actions speak louder than words. I want to thank Mary and Wendy and Joe and Letitia for your comments and your actions trying to get the lifeguard program closer to the finish line. Your actions have not gone unnoticed, and they are very much appreciated by the people and the 1,600 people right now that I have actively participating on my website. So thank you to those that support our program.
My name is Bob Pratt. I live at 6133 Oak Park Trail in Hazlet, Michigan. I'm thankful that I'm here in person tonight to witness the extraordinary courage and grace shown by Lisa McDonald. I cannot imagine the horror of losing a child. On top of that, the unspeakable horror added to that trauma when a city commissioner called the tragedy a Darwin family vacation. No public apology was made. The city did not reprimand this person. As a matter of fact, the city reinstated that person to the Planning Commission. I can't believe that a mayoral candidate promised to do everything in her power to bring back lifeguards, and then not only does nothing once elected, but actively worked against the process. December 22nd, I attended a meeting with Ms. Brown, with Lisa McDonald, where candidate Brown made the promises to Lisa that she would do everything in her power to bring back lifeguards. I was also here January 2nd at the city council meeting where the mayor and the city manager rejected Mary Hosley's motion to put lifeguards on the agenda. I know Lisa was at home watching that broadcast on her television. I was also at the March 11th priorities meeting, and I know Lisa was again watching the video of it, anxiously awaiting the mayor to finally honor her promise and make lifeguards a priority, but the mayor didn't. The mayor didn't make water safety her top priority, or her second, or her third priority, not her fourth, fifth, or sixth priority, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, nor 16th, not even the 17th. No points were given to the beach safety program. The mayor, who pledged to do everything in her power, did nothing. Not 1 point of her 153 possible points went to lifeguards. At the very same meeting, we all saw City Manager Hosier tell a bald-faced lie to Wendy Anuki. when asked about the possibility of guards for the 24 season. A lie so egregious that Dr. Greg Fields felt compelled to refute it in writing. Imagine Lisa's disappointment. Imagine the betrayal of trust. Lisa McDonald suffered an unimaginable trauma when she lost her daughter. Now she's having to endure more trauma over and over. Can you stop typing for just a second and listen to what I'm saying? My goodness. I join Ms. McDonald in asking you to hold the mayor and city manager accountable for their completely unprofessional actions, like continuing to type while I'm speaking. I've no doubt that in your closing comments, you'll wax poetically, maybe even tearfully, thanking Lisa and showing sympathy and remorse. But as Lisa pointed out tonight, actions speak louder than words. Like Ms. McDonald, I want to thank Mary Hosley, Wendy Inoki, Joe Reeser, and Letitia Watkins for your support to increase beach safety in such a hostile environment. Please keep pushing for safer beachers. You are true heroes. The people of South Haven are realizing the lies and deceit perpetrated by the mayor and the manager. The evidence is staggering. It's indisputable. There's public records of it. There's videos of it. The deeper you look.
Your time is up.
Nope. 1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute, I'm sorry.
I'd like my 15 seconds back, please.
Go ahead.
The deeper you look, the worse it gets. Please continue to speak truth to power. The people of South Haven are seeing the truth. Lisa McDonald deserves better. The visitors, residents, and voters of South Haven also deserve better. It's time to stop talking and start action. I'm asking you to consider a motion to discuss beach safety at every council meeting from now until the spring. It's October. If you want a lifeguard program next summer, you must start now. I said the same thing January 2nd when I stood at this very place. Do not let Kate and Annie continue to kick this can down the road as they have done so effectively for the last year. They will slow roll this process and then shrug their shoulders and claim, well, it's too late now. We can't have a program now, it's just too late. I'm going to close with a quote from my favorite author, Paulo Coelho. When you repeat a mistake, it's not a mistake anymore. It's a decision. You have decisions to make.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Any other comments? If not, oh, go ahead.
Joe Wilkins, 811 Indiana Street. Just real quickly, Kate, I told a couple of individuals that that I would express their concerns about the hiring of the new police chief, and they are concerned that the person that succeeds Chief Natalie, because she did such a great job with relationships and building a rapport with especially those in the Ward 1, south side of Ward 1, how important it is that they would like the community to be involved. They would like leadership of Ward 1 to be involved, and they would also like for us to strongly consider to look outside of the department, because they felt like, the person that gave me their comments that no one there at this point in time have really embraced the vision that Chief Natalie had tried to lay down for the department. So that's very important to several people that I talked to. Now, my comments, I want to preface my comments with 3 quotes by the late Dr. Martin Luther King, and some of the councilmen have already commented on it, but I think it's important. I should be probably elevating my leg, but I wanted to come out and really make comments on this issue. Dr. King stated, and I quote, just 3 quotes, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenges and controversy. The true neighbor will risk his position, his prestige, and even his life for the welfare of others. I look Another quote, I look to a day when people will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Last quote, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. I thought those are excellent quotes concerning the situation that we have faced. Recently, our city, as was stated, was violated by a nasty action or behavior that does not represent who we are as a community. I truly believe that the anti-Semitic material that was passed out in our neighborhoods, as well as the 4-foot monkey that I believe Mr. Reeser is against it, but for some reason didn't want to mention that it was a 4-foot monkey found hanging on a tree in Covert right outside of South Haven. I believe that these two incidents was meant to stir up the worst in people and to put a stain on our community, on our city. This behavior does not represent our city, that's my belief, and the residents that live within our city. Those items reflect, though, the painful history of so many that live in our city, our neighborhoods, and should not be condoned, but should be condemned. Last week, I was both saddened and happy to know I took several African Americans out there that want to see, and they were really hurt by the fact that that monkey could be seen so clearly from the street, and nobody said anything. It seemed as if nobody said anything. It hung there for 4 days. My son had to witness that, but I was happy to know that many residents of our great city have spoken out against this type of behavior. It's not acceptable when we will not tolerate it. It does not represent the best.
You have 1 minute.
Does not represent the best of South Haven. I want to thank all the residents of South Haven who chose not to be pulled back to a dark time in history, but chose to rise to a place of love and respect for one another, regardless of our race, color, and creed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments? Moving on to city manager's comments.
Thank you, Mayor. I did want to kind of give a quick update on to the police chief search. Curtis Holt, as we know, conducting that search with us. We have 11 people who are interested, and so we're seeing some very quality candidates. So we're going to be going through that process, and I do want to reassure that there will be a public component of this. We do want stakeholders from the community to be part of this process. So we'll know more. I'll have more to share the next couple weeks as to what that looks like. I did also want to share that the city clerk is preparing for the general election on Tuesday, November 5th. And last week and continuing this week, she has mailed out over 1,000 absentee ballots. So thank you, Megan. If you have not received your absentee ballot and you've applied for one or you're on our list, you're going to be getting one. It's just going to take a little bit of time. But you should be getting one in the mail. This is also the time of year as we're transitioning out of the summertime into the fall time. So you're going to see Public Works trying to transition to that season. Different seasons. So bathrooms are closing. We'll be putting up snow fencing and things like that. I did also want to highlight, Dana's not here tonight, but I wanted to really give kudos to him and all of his hard work in getting the Shasta drinking water project off the ground. That was a very quick turnaround. We had 9 months to get that done. I think this was the fastest that USDA and Eagle had seen an application come through. And of course, this is a very sizable award. Between loans and grants, this is a $42 million drinking water improvement. One of the components is the demolition of the water tank behind Walgreens and the new one that is going next to DPW. So kudos to Dana. He really jumped in with both feet. I too want to highlight Sergeant Carlotto's very quick response to those anti-Semitic letters that were handed out. We did issue a follow-up on Friday, just kind of explaining where things are at about charges and things like that. So that's up on our website. I did also want to thank the individual who contacted me about the Covert incident. We did get the chief of police from Covert out there, and they are investigating that incident in Covert. I don't think that represents our community. I feel reassured that the person who is handing out these flyers is not from here, he's from Niles, but that does not represent our community. I thank Mayor Brown for her leadership in getting that letter out to the public. Again, I think that's very important for us all to stand together and say, this does not represent our community, and it's not community, and it's not welcome here. Lastly, I know that we've got a few South Haven businesses that are closing, Sherman's, Golden Brown Bakery, but I do want to reassure the council and the public that our economic development team, which is Michael Landis, myself, and Jim Hettinger, we're making contact with those businesses to see how we can plug in any issues we can help. We've reached out to Dave Brashley at the Golden Brown, kind of see what we can do there. I also know that American Twisting has been purchased by Novalex, and we'll be making contact with that new company here. We want to make sure that our jobs are staying here and that we can do whatever we can to support those businesses. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Now it's time for mayor and councilperson's comments.
Mayor.
Letitia.
Could I ask a couple questions?
Sure.
I've been contacted by a couple of residents about the wastewater treatment testing for the, they're doing the testing for the, making sure the water, I forgot the notice, sorry, doing the smoke test.
Okay.
And they are second homeowners, and they're not around during the times that they're being given. So is there a hard date by which these tests need to be completed? Is there some flexibility?
I'll have to check with staff.
Okay.
If you can, just refer them to myself, and we can have Dana look into that with Mr. Hyatt.
Okay. I was also wondering about any update you might have. You had commented a month or so ago about reaching out to 4 different companies for beach safety. Recently, September 20th, Dave Baker from Land and Sea Safety Consulting had contacted us, and I was wondering the timing when we might, you said you would be bringing a company back to us. What is the timing for that, and have you contacted Dave?
I did share that with Kim, and she's heading that up. We're hoping to have some kind of update either on the 21st of October or the November 4 meeting.
Has Dave been added to the list to contact?
I believe she has added him.
Okay, thank you. And Overton RFP, will that be coming back to us for final review?
We can bring that back for final review. I know that we've all kind of looked at the language, but we did want to share the graphics with them that are currently being worked on. So we can definitely bring that back and show you what's going on, that there's been no substantive changes to the document prior to its being released.
And do you think that might be back in October, or?
That's the plan.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Letitia.
No comment.
George.
No comments.
Joe.
Couple comments. First, I am really pleased tonight that we're moving short-term rentals, the regulatory part I'm really pleased that we're moving forward on the short-term rental regulatory section. I was really pleased that Bishop Wilkins felt that we had done a pretty good job getting it started. So thank you, Mr. Wilkins, Bishop Wilkins. And I am optimistic. Secondly, I'm going to choose my words carefully. Lisa McDonald, I'm sorry that you feel as bad as you do, and it's understandable. I think you have support up here greater than you know, and I think you have enough support to move this forward. I will tell you that it's now priority number 3 for City Council, which in some ways is amazing to go from not even being discussed for a couple of years to number 3. It's not going to be ignored. I just personally don't know how to get this off the ground, but I think maybe the council, with some help from the city manager and the mayor, we can get it started. Sure, we can all talk about the cost, and we can talk about insurance and liability. Other cities have done it. It's not insurmountable. We talk constantly about tourism in this town, how important it is, and we have shopkeepers here tonight that know it's important. So I think it's also important we protect them on the beaches as well as our own residents. So I'm hoping that we'll have things done before the year is over, because I don't want it to go to next year where we say it's too late. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe. Mary?
Yeah, just a reminder of everybody that the open house for the master plan update is Thursday, October 10th, from 4:30 to 6:30 in here. The new zoning ordinance was reviewed by the Planning Commission and has been sent to City Council for review or adoption. And I share the concerns about the incidents that have happened, and although I have not been publicly vocal, I have been talking with community members, and I do not support such actions. I think my activity in the community supporting different causes supports that, and we do need to come together as a community and make it known that that is not acceptable behavior, and we need to protect our community and make us feel safe. So.
Jeff?
No comment.
I would just like to reiterate my strong feelings about the recent racist incidents. As you know, in the past week, our region has been the target of 2 racist incidents designed to intimidate members of our Jewish and Black communities. One occurred within South Haven and one just beyond our borders. Both were immediately referred to law enforcement agencies for further investigation. A suspect who is not from South Haven was identified in the incident that involved distribution of anti-Semitic flyers in our city and in South Haven Township. Interim Police Chief Pat Carlotto led this investigation, which was turned over to the prosecutor, who considered charges. The investigation into the second incident, which involved an anti-Black display in a neighboring township, is ongoing. Let me be very clear. Hate has no place in South Haven. Hate will not be tolerated here. We are a diverse and open community, welcoming all. These incidents are unacceptable, and we condemn them in the strongest terms. We support the efforts of local and county law enforcement to investigate these reprehensible acts swiftly and thoroughly, so these crimes can be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. United States Attorney Mark Totten contacted Kate Hosier this morning to thank her for her leadership and let us know that he will be monitoring these cases and working closely with his team and with us. Thank you. If there's no further business, we're adjourned.